Good morning, everybody. My name is Samantha Mirabal with Melco's application team. We're doing our DesignShop Talk today. See what questions you guys might have to see if we can get them answered. If you have questions while we're live, type them in the chat, and I will periodically be looking over to the side. Hopefully my chat window works today because that makes me happier than panning between the two platforms. All right, let me quick check and make sure we're up on both of them. There goes Facebook is good and YouTube is good. Awesome. All right, y'all, let's see. I only had a handful of questions sent in, so be sure to type in any that you have and we'll get to those as well. All right, so when using applique, is there a way to change the order of the stitching? I have a letter that sews the middle of the letters with the holes first and then pushes the twill so the stitching is off. Okay. So, for example, the holes inside the B sew first and then the outside, and you want to rearrange it all. Okay, that's cool. So that's done in the digitizing. So that's not done at your machine. That's done with the files. So let's take a look at it. I digitized a B, applique B, since that was the letter you gave as an example. So the order it sews in is going to be dependent on how you have the file set up, right? So if I go look over here, it sews the outside first and then the two inside spots. Or you can do the two insides and sew the inside first and then the outside. So it really is going to depend on how you want it done. And all you have to do is rearrange your elements over here. So color 1 is going to sew all those three things. Now, if you want each of these to sew and then stop, you give it a different color change, right? So I can, make this a different color. So then it sews that one. I can program an applique stop. Then I can sew that one and then that one. Same with my satin stitch at the very end. So let's say I don't want the outside to sew first. I want the two holes to sew first. Well, I can move those up. And how did I do that? I left click one. And if you want to select multiple items, you can hold the shift key and click at the bottom. So if I click here, shift to bottom, it selects all the elements in between. If I hold the control key, it will only select what I have selected. All right, so control, control, control. Now those three elements are selected. Whereas if I click here and say shift through there, it'll select everything between from first to bottom. Shift basically selects everything. Okay, so changing the order of your applique file is as simple as dragging these around to go in the order you want, right? So if you just are rearranging things, it's rearrange your elements. That's all there is to it. Is drag and drop until they're in the order you want them to sew in. All right. So yes, you can absolutely change the order. All right, so the next question we had was explain this function and when to use it. So when to use it, personally, I would say never, but let me show you what it does. All right, I found myself a jokester. I'm not very funny, but all right. So, oh, boo. Oh, I moved the file. That's why. Oops. All right. So I drew this. This is just a rectangle drawn off center. So the origin typically is where these things intersect. So that's going to be your center of your hoop when you turn it on. Where those intersect is the center. All right. So if you come into the grid area right here, right click on that, you can change place origin at center to be first stitch. All right. It doesn't change what you see on the screen right now. All right. What it does is when you save the file out, this origin, while it looks like it's actually here, it's going to be over here where this green circle is. So I saved this file as an EXP just to show you. So when you open up the EXP, notice it places it with the origin right in the middle. So where that first stitch was, that is now the origin of the file. So wherever the very first stitch is, it's going to ignore what you normally would have as the origin and use this. So why I say don't use it is, typically you're able to design something to fit in a hoop and center it within the file. Well, if you're setting that grid to use at first stitch, what looks perfect on the screen, when you save it and go load it, it's going to move stuff around, because now instead of the origin being here, it's going to be over here or wherever your first stitch is. So it's going to move your file around. And personally, that would annoy the daylights out of me. So I suggest not using it and just say center. That way it's always going to be this point where those origins connect. The two red lines, that is the center. That's where your 0, 0 is. So I can center this. And regardless of where my first stitch is, that's going to be the center of my design. Okay, so it's not going to reorient this to like that, which is what you saw on that EXP file. All right. Yeah, so that's that thing. It's going to change your origin to be where your first stitch is. So I don't like it. I don't use it, for what it's worth. All right. Any questions so far? Let me quick go look. Nothing on YouTube, nothing on Facebook. My chat window is there, so I'm gonna think it works. When doing excuse me. All right, when doing line work, there's a term called branching. Is it possible with DS11? So the term branching, I Googled it because I was unfamiliar with it. So another software has a feature called branching, which is in DesignShop, it's auto sequencing is what we would call it. So if you've got a bunch, all right, I'm going to draw multiple things. All right, so there is no rhyme or reason to what I'm drawing. I'm just going to draw multiple things so you can see how this works. Let's draw a circle and a circle. Okay, so I've got multiple things. I paid zero attention to where the starts or stops are, but it is all touching, right? So all of that is touching, so I should be able to sew it without a trim. If I update my auto trims, you'll notice there's trims throughout here. I can come over and select that entire color. I can right click up, where'd it go? I usually do it over here. I hold this button down. I know you can do it through the right click as well, but I select everything and right here say auto sequence. All right, what that will do is it will automatically rearrange everything, add running stitches and other things so that it all sews without any trims. Okay, so that would be your auto sequence. So if that's what you meant by branching, yes, DesignShop has that. It's right here. Hold that button down, auto sequence. It'll do additional run stitches and other things like that. Last week about the split front, it doesn't cover the digitizing piece of the puzzle. Okay, so, all right, sorry, I did not read the entire question. So the, last week we talked briefly about split front designs, and there's a video that Melko did, gosh, a few years ago now, on split front. The comment in YouTube is, hey, that's doesn't cover the digitizing piece of the puzzle. Okay, I will see if they can make a video on that. If not, I will put an example together and do that for you all. Yeah, I don't know with a Melko font. Okay, I will come up with something for y'all. So I'll pick a Melko font. I'll do a primer stitch around it so it can be applique if you want it to be, and then I'll show how to split it and make it overlap. So that is what I will do as an example. Does that sound good? I'll want to think about it a little bit, because all the split designs, when you have to have the part overlapping, I have to always think about it of how I want that done. So let me plan that out and make it a separate video, or see if one of the guys can do it. But if they can't, then I will. Cool. What else? All right, so that was auto sequencing. Was there any other questions? No, those are all the questions that I had ahead of time. Well, all right. You want to watch me fumble? Let's fumble through it and talk about it. I guess I'll just do it. Let's see. All right, so SAMANTHA. All right, how big do we want it across the front? What, 8 inches, 10 inches? Let's say 10 inches. 10 inches wide. Maybe. There we go. We're going to center it. So let's see how we would do this as a split front. So first off, I'm going to do that. I'm going to generate a primer stitch so I can have an applique behind it. Yeah, I did 10 inches, so we're good. All right, since I just did that fast, I typed some text, changed the width down here to 10 inches. I'm going to go to operations. No, I'm not. I'm going to select it, go to object, generate basting primer stitch, change it over to primer. 50, sure, why not? All right, I don't actually want this as a primer stitch, so I'm going to delete one. I just want the shape, so I didn't have to do that. So I'm going to use the control key, which, remember, control is change element, shift is add. So control, there. All right, so now I got a placement stitch, copy, paste, use the control, change that over to a satin stitch, but I want it to be a tackle and make it 30. Okay, so let me go open up a file from last week, because at least I will have some art to look at, so we can at least think through it and come up with a plan. All right, so just the digitizing, the planning aspect, right? You've got to decide where you want it to, where you're going to have it aligned relative to your placards, and make sure it all works out. So I'm going to copy all this vector stuff. Let me see if I can just get the shirt, because I don't, the shirt and the dots. Is that the shirt and the dots? I think so. I'm going to copy that and paste it into my file. Cheating here. Where did my Samantha go? Did I really delete it? Nope. Paste. Cool. Oh, is that really how far buttons are apart? Let's see. I'm going to measure it. 6 inches? Yeah, that's right. Okay. So that would be plausible for a button spacing. So I'll go with it. I shall allow it. How about that? All right. So let's say we want this there. I don't know. Maybe we'll place it like that. How do we want to place it? I don't want to place it with an M splitting it. So I'm going to put Sam there, Antha on the other side. All right. So now this is where you got to think about it. So I want to sew from here over on one hooping and from there over on the other, but I also need some of the material to come underneath here, right? So that's where you've got your placements and alignment aspect of it. So if I'm going to take this entire design and split it up, how would I do it? Well, first off, I would draw some vector lines, which is what you saw in that other file. All right, I'm going to split it here. Let me make it an annoying color so we can actually see it. And let's make this stuff a different color so we can see it too. Okay, so I'm going to split it here. All right, so that's where the top part will sew. Now underneath, I'm going to add additional fabric to sew underneath here so it sews and we get a nice overlap on there. So I'm going to copy and paste, and let's say we want to go over to here maybe. I don't know, you decide. I'm going to say the center of the placard, the center of the buttonholes, because that's easier for you to chalk it. All right, so you've got that. And now we can take the entire design and also shift it, because you also have to decide alignment this way. So what's going to be your point? So when you chalk it on the drawing, where is going to be your center point? Are you going to go at the bottom? So basically, you're going to just set it up so that the bottom line is going to be the bottom of your shape, or is it going to be the center of it? It's a planning exercise, so you decide that. So let's say we want to chalk a line that's going to be the bottom of our thing. So I want my design to be on that red line. And now I've got my green lines of where I'm going to split it. So now I've got to create my files, right? So what are we going to do? I don't know. Let's try it. All right, I'm going to copy and paste this and give it a different color. You'll notice I do this a lot. I tend to copy and paste stuff, so when I'm changing things, I have duplicate art to work with. So first off, I don't need the A through the A. And I'm going to take that and left justify it to the other text. So select those two, left justify. All right, so now that's back where it belongs. I'm going to copy and paste that guy, and this time delete the S through the M. And I did that fast. Did you guys actually catch what I did for deleting them without going into the lettering element? So that's the full word. So what I did, I'm not going to delete these. I select one letter, hold the shift key, select through the other, and now I can give those a different color if I want, or I can hit the delete key and delete them. Okay, so I left the full element up here somewhere, right there, just as a reference point. All right, so now I have my text separated. So now I just have to deal with the how I'm going to put the fabric down here, right, for my applique. So I want to go underneath here. I don't know, we said to the middle of the placard, so I'm going to go to the middle of the placard. So I'm going to do a point and a point, left click or control to select both points, split element at selected points. And where did it not split? Of course not. Oh, because it's not a fill. I can't do it that way. Sorry. I have just to say split element. If it's a fill, you can do that. This is not a fill, so I just have to split the points. So I have that. I'm going to delete it. All right, so that's the one side. And I'm going to go ahead and finish the shape because you notice there's no line down the middle. So I'm going to drag this over, add a point here, and then drag this down. And let's make that straight, move it over. Cool. All right, so I'm focusing on the left side first because that's what has to sew first, right? So I've got this part here. So I'm going to hide everything else so we're only looking at the one. There we go. All right, so I've got that. I've got my placement, copy, paste, hold the control key, click on this guy, make this to tackle, and make it wider so it'll be a tackle placement. That'll work. So I've got my placement, my zigzag, and my name. I probably want those as separate colors so I have time to actually lay the fabric down. So that would be one file, right? And how you would set this up when you go to hoop it, I would have a line chalked out of where it's going to be. I would then have my buttonholes as my second, or my buttons in this case, as the straight up and down, and that would be where the needle goes. So I basically just align it until the needle's right over there, and then I can sew this. Now, if you want to do laser alignment, that's always my favorite. You can do laser left, laser right, laser bullseye, and then shift it over. And that way you can make sure if there's any rotation to it, you're straight. So I would use laser alignment and just shift it around. So that would be one file. And then on the other side, you do pretty much the same thing. Where's the other half of my lettering? There it is, Antha. So again, it's just you plan out how you want to get the fabric down, get your zigzag, and digitize the same side of it. Now, alignment wise, that's where now it becomes important for you to think about what you're going to use as a reference point for your alignment, right? So if I'm going to make sure I'm centered right on here, I can use my chalk line, laser left, laser right, laser bullseye, and it's centered here on the placard. You know, if I'm right up and down where those buttonholes go, then I know it's going to be lined up right. Okay, so is there one way to do it? No, there's probably 200 ways to do it. And I'm thinking on the fly. I'm sure as soon as I hang up here, I'll think of another way to do it that I like better. So that's just how it always seems to work. Let's see. What if you wanted the letters appliqued and still have the second color Nope, I'm not answering that. Sorry. What if you wanted the letters appliqued and still have the second color applique border? Can you convert those to a vector and change elements? Yeah, absolutely. So the question was, what if you want these to be appliques on top, right? So yeah, instead of having these as fills, you don't even have to convert to vector straight away. You can take this whole thing and say, all right, sorry, I just wanted that back. I can select that, hold my control key down, it changes from one element to another, and say, select the text, control, click on that, and now I've got my placement stitch. So now it's a whole bunch of copy paste and change element type, right? So I can take this thing and I can copy paste, give it another color, make it a bean stitch, and then copy paste, control, make those, let's say we want them satin, and 30. So now those letters are all applique now. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. So whenever working any design that's going to be multiple hoops, I always, and I mean always, do them in one file, and then I split it apart into multiple files. It helps me to make sure my alignment points are all set up correctly, and that I'm not accidentally making, I'm pointing at my monitor, that's helpful, that I'm not accidentally putting a 1/2 inch gap in here because I have the origin offset a little bit. So by keeping it all together, I can keep straight where my points have to be, so that when I'm doing it individually setting it up, I can keep that straight. Okay. Did that help at all? Hopefully it did. If not, let me know. I'll try to get a video record. I'll think about it some more, try to get a better design other than just funny text. All right. What other questions do we have? Nothing? All right. Well, let's see. Next week, I'm actually out of town, so I don't know. I know it's a holiday week. Hopefully everyone has a nice 4th of July. I'm going to be completely out of town. I'm in Utah hiking, so that'll be fun. If I don't know if someone else is going to do the talk or if we're just going to wait till the next week, I'll try to figure that out for y'all, and you'll see a notice if there's going to be a talk. You'll see it on social media. Other than that, I personally will be back not next week but the week after, and we'll aim for Friday again. So it'll not next Friday but the Friday after that is when I will be back again for our next talk. So let me quick look through comments, see if I missed anything. Nothing on Facebook. Looks like I caught all the ones on YouTube, I think. Yeah, awesome. All right, well, that is all I had for the day. I will talk to you guys next week. Have a fantastic holiday week, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. Have fun sewing, everyone. Bye, y'all.